Ninjago has been LEGO's most successful and longest-running original theme in their catalog, spanning from sets, TV shows, a movie, and video games, which means there's been several iterations of the Ninja throughout the years. And in this video, I'll be showcasing my own custom designs for these iconic LEGO Ninja. So without further ado, Ninjago! First up is Zane. The white elemental ninja of ice is actually a robot. So while keeping that in mind, I won't be leaning into the robot aspect when designing this figure. Instead, I was more inspired by techwear and cyber ninjas. So for our base, I'll actually be utilizing the new CMF head print. The distinctive feature I wanted to implement for this character was a long coat that wraps all the way around the torso. So after sketching it, we can cut it out and try it on. We have to make a couple adjustments and shape it up a bit better. Once I've achieved the desired shape, I'll be adding some black highlights. For some more durability, I'll be sealing it with transparent tape. So far, I think the coat turned out pretty good, but let's add a couple more details, like some black shoes, some straps around the legs and arms. I also wanted to experiment with a singular hip attachment. After painting it, let's see what it looks like on the legs. Turned out decent enough. Let's look at our finished product. Overall, the design is pretty simple, but it still looks pretty slick and clean. The CMF head is also very fitting here, and I'm happy with how it looks. Maybe next time, if I revisit this character, I'll lean more into his robotic design. My personal favorite ninja is Kai. While he started as a blacksmith, he became the red elemental ninja of fire. The hot-headed natural-born leader wields the golden sword. In my opinion, he's deserved to be the leader and eventually take the role of the legendary golden ninja, until someone had to ruin everything. So to start, this is the base he'll be using, dark red legs, and went with the classic cowl because the clip in the back is quite useful. Let's trace this torso to begin designing the decal. Because I've already designed a reference, I can easily get started by drawing our design. Once it's done, we'll fill in our dark red elements with this marker. Next, let's fill in our brown elements, like the shoulder pad and straps. The larger space that's left we will paint in bright red. I outlined our silver bits in black to ensure we have thin outlines. I did the same for the pouches he'll have in his belt. Let's bring this all together by continuing to add our black outlines. Here is our final result. Time to cut it out and seal it with transparent tape. Now we can add it to our figure. Looking pretty good. Let's continue with the legs. I'll be using some masking tape that I'll later paint brown. Then paint in the wrappings, which proved to be a challenging task, but we got it done. I went ahead and drew an outline for how I wanted the cloak to be shaped, then began to cut it out. After achieving an appropriate level of disheveling, we can start to shade it into red. Almost done. We just need the waist cape I want to add. All we need now is to paint it red and add a dark red detail. And for extra detail, I want to add some brown glove tops that we will acquire from this bootleg piece. After a while of struggling, we managed to cut these off. After adding them, let's look at our finished product. And the Fire Ninja is done. I really love how he turned out. The colors complement each other so well. Plus the extra details like the custom waist cape, glove tops, and cloak really elevate this figure.
Next up is Lloyd. At this point, you probably know how I feel about this character, but I still had to make him for this video. He's the golden ninja after all, and the face of Ninjago at this point, even if I'm personally not a fan. His design is largely based off of this torso design. It's perfect because of its dark green and gold elements. I'll be making just a few additions. For example, this cape. I'll layer it with tape for some better resistance. Then we can begin cutting it out. Next, I'll do the same thing for the waist cape. After they're done, we can start to paint them into dark green. While we let those dry, I'll be adding some details in the legs with some masking tape. After shaping them up as desired, we can move on to the arms, where I'll do the same thing. Now we can begin to paint them gold, as well as the legs. Now, let's check the results. It's probably clear to see I didn't put much effort for this one, but I still think he looks cool. But how would you redesign him? Let me know in the comments.
Moving on, we have Cole, the Earth Elemental Ninja, wielder of the Golden Scythe. I was actually really looking forward to redesigning this character, since there's a lot of directions you can go with. After all, black is an incredibly versatile color. So for him, I was actually inspired by Shredder from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, of all things. So once again, I'll begin with the torso decal, which will be a more armored look. After finishing the design, we can begin to paint. We'll start with silver, and fill in the rest we need in black. While we let that dry, let's work on the head. Because I don't want to paint over the actual head, I'll add some transparent tape. And now we can paint in our mask freely. Now that they're both dry, let's seal our decal, so we can add it to our torso. I'll also be adding a waist cape, so let's begin to paint it black. And while let that dry, work on the legs. I'll be adding some masking tape in which we will draw our details in black marker. Then adding our silver. Our waist cape has finished drying, so let's add our remaining silver details to it as well. I decided the torso needed a belt, so let's work on it. I made it in 3 parts that I'll be attaching together. Now we can add it to our torso. Looks much better now. Now that he's done, let's take a look at our results. Out of all the ninja I worked on, I think this one turned the coolest and the most menacing. Although his signature weapon is the scythe and still looks really nice when paired with this figure, I had these metal claws in mind that I wanted him to have. Unfortunately, I don't know the accurate name for these weapons. Maybe someone in the comments knows, but also let me know what you prefer, scythe or claws. Last but not least, Jay. From what I remember, Jay was kind of the goofy comedic relief of the group. But since I haven't been keeping up with the show, I've learned that he's apparently turned evil. And although I won't necessarily be leaning too much into his evil phase, it reminded me of a Ronin, a disgruntled warrior with no master. His base might confuse you. Why does he have pink underwear? Don't worry, it'll make sense why I'm using these legs. Plus, it's a great look for him. Alright, so I kept the design for the torso very basic, just a simple robe that we will paint black with blue accents. Transparent tape once again to seal it, which means it's ready to be added to our torso. Of course, he also needs a belt, so let's add that next. For this character, I wanted him to have long robes, So for the waist cape, we'll be designing exactly that. Let's replace those green sandals for some brown ones. Much better. I also knew I wanted to give him a jacket, but that's where I ran into some issues. Turns out matching Lego's dark blue tint is incredibly difficult. And trust me, I tried. This means I had to pivot, but honestly, even if it's not what I originally intended, I still like what I ended up improvising. With that being said, let's check out our results. Without a doubt, this was the hardest figure to make due to the various complications we encountered. He also deviates the most from my original vision, since I really wanted him to have a very dark, edgy, and mysterious look to him. I still like how he turned out, but he definitely could have been better. At least the logo in the back of his coat came out really clean for the most part. You've reached the end of the video. I appreciate you sticking to the end, and would appreciate even more if you would consider liking and subscribing. Help me reach 1,000 subscribers. Of all these redesigns, who was your favorite? Let me know on the comments below. Anyway, bye for now.